The New York City yesterday for the first time reopened New York City public schools for up to 90,000 children with in-person classes. Only time will tell the impact of reopening of schools on COVID-19 cases. But tonight, we present to you two South Asian parents who have decided to send their kids back to school. Megha Rao and Bijal Vohra, well-known fashion designers, both provided much insight into their personal decision to send their sons back to school. Here is our conversation with Megha Rao and Bijal Vohra. I have you today to discuss something that's very important. It's kind of concerning nation, entirely, which is schools reopening and the decisions for parents to make whether or not to send your kid back to school. You are sending your kid back to school. So I'd like to know how that experience has been for you. And, what made you and your husband decide to send your son back to school?
That's a great question. And I'm going to start by saying everyone has their own story. What I say is not right or wrong. And I think ultimately it comes down to what works best for yourself and your family. For me and my husband, we both work full-time jobs, like I'm sure many of you do. And two things. One, we physically do not have the time that we want to spend with our kids and sit down and homeschool. I think that is the number one concern. The second concern is even if I did, I probably wouldn't be giving them the best that they could possibly get. And so we were faced with a decision that we had to make a few weeks ago on, are we sending our son back to school or not? And we decided to send him back. And we asked a lot of questions. We read a lot on it. And we felt safe with the decisions that they have made for the school. Kids are wearing masks. Kids are being separated as much as they possibly can. They're in school for half a day and they're getting as much as they can. When he comes home, he has the opportunity to continue to do virtual learning. And so obviously we support him there as much as we can, but this was a decision we had to make because we both work.
And how many days is he going to school currently?
So his school is Monday through Friday and he goes from 8:30 to 12:30. So it's half a day.
How has his experience been so far, Megha? Is he happy? And does he tell you if the kids are maintaining safe distance and they're washing their hands, taking precautions? How old is he again?
So he's 6 years old and he's in first grade. And yeah, so the first question is he is extremely excited, right? And that's for two reasons. I think first, it's giving him a sense of routine. Right. These kids have been home for months and their entire world changed. And sometimes they don't really know how to express what they're feeling. But you'll see it come out in different ways. They'll either throw a tantrum or they'll get upset. And I started noticing that about him when I never did before.
Wow.
And so I think that him going back has given him this sense of normalcy, this sense of routine that's come back in his life. And he's happy. When I pick him up, he's happy. He's smiling. I ask him about his day. He's like, his mask will be soaked, right? These kids eat their masks from the inside. So they're wearing their masks. They're washing their hands. I can actually feel it on his clothes when I'm changing him. His wrists are all wet on his clothes. So they're washing their hands. They're following the precautions and they're doing the best that they can, and they're kids, so they're going to adapt.
What about their teachers, Megha? How have they been? And I'm sure you must see them taking a lot of precautions as well.
Yeah, I do see the teachers taking a lot of precautions. They have been amazing. These teachers, no matter where you are, I want to say thank you because I can only imagine what this is like for them. It's a lot of change. It's a lot going on, but they are doing an amazing job. They're communicating with parents. They're making sure that they feel comfortable, right? They're already going through this all on their own, but they're making sure we're okay, which is amazing. So I see them when I pick up my son. I make sure to say thank you to them because what they're doing is not easy. But they're doing great. They're wearing a mask. They're maintaining distance when I see them. Even when they speak to us, they're speaking to us from afar. And so I hope they know that they're appreciated. And I genuinely and seriously appreciate what they're doing.
And has there been any news about positive cases in the school yet?
Not yet, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But that day could come. And I think we're all kind of wondering when that may happen, what will happen if that news does come about. And I think they're already preparing for it, right? So half of the day, Aryan is doing virtual learning. And so in the event that there is a case and they do need to shut down, I think they're already ready for that with the virtual learning. It'll just obviously be a longer day for the kids.
Yes, for sure. Finally, what's your one advice to the parents right now on this or on anything else in, handling their children, taking care of them during COVID-19?
I think, my advice would be to release the guilt. I think as parents, we have guilt about everything. Am I making the right decision? Should my kid go to school? Is my kid getting the right? Do what you feel is right. And that's kind of what I have been brought up with anything about parenting. There's going to be a million opinions. Everyone has something to say. You've got to do what's right for you, right? Like at the end of the day, that is all that matters. You're going to take things as they come. You're going to navigate. We're going to figure this out. And eventually this will all be behind us. So you know what's best for you.
What are some of the precautionary steps that the school is taking in terms of their ventilation, in terms of masking up, in terms of checking for temperature? Can you give us an insight into what happens when Jake steps into the school?
Yeah, so that was one thing that we looked into, because my husband actually spoke to a few of the schools in the area, and he got on Zoom calls as soon as we learned about the teachers and what was going on in the community, seeing what was going to happen. We actually had Anuj dial into a lot of the schools. And since he runs 2 ERs and he had to put the same kind of, let's say, practices into place, he did the same thing for the schools, which made it a lot easier for us to feel comfortable with the schools. So what they were doing is constant hand washing. The schedule is they put up a plastic in between desks. So now kids don't have as much interaction, unfortunately, but they're still getting a lot of activities and, you know, one-on-one with the teachers. The teachers are keeping 6 feet of social distancing, and that's really important. They're constantly wearing masks. They're changing them throughout the day if they feel uncomfortable, and also just to make sure that there's constant breathing and they can get a break as well.
So do you know if there is changes in the ventilation system of the school?
But nothing with ventilation has happened. There is a lot of outdoors time right now. So we're seeing how it goes. I mean, I think that's the best that we can do. You know, we really have to trust the education system, trust the communities, and that they're doing the right thing. That was something that was important when we were choosing if Jake should go back to school or not. And with the other 3 children, the reason we didn't send them is because at this point, I didn't feel like there was a need. You know, Jake is learning very similar things that the other 3 kids are learning. So I felt like to put them in a different school increases the risk. And I didn't want to do that. Yes, it's going to be hard on me. Yes, it's going to be crazy at home with my 3 kids that definitely want interaction with other students and want play dates. But that's just something that I don't feel comfortable with right now. And I explained that to my husband. I mean, he was actually comfortable with sending the other children to school, but that was something that I decided for myself. As a mom, I didn't want to increase the risk. I wanted to take it one step at a time. And I think that's the right decision for me right now.